Hey guys, welcome to this video. A slight change of format to the ones I've done previously. Basically, some people have been in touch and asked me about collecting autographs through the mail. And so I thought I'd put together this video, which is basically my experience of through the mail autograph collecting. Give you a few tips, some do's and don'ts, things I think are really important, and hopefully it might be helpful to somebody who's perhaps new to the hobby of collecting autographs and would like to get into it. So hopefully I'll give you a few pointers and some directions to go in. So what I'm going to do is basically talk about kind of some places you can get autograph addresses from, kind of the do's and don'ts for writing off to your favourite celebrities, and hopefully give you just like I say, a quick rundown of the key things to remember. From this point onwards, when I talk about through the mail, I'm going to call it TTM. If you've seen TTM written anywhere before and you don't know what it means, that's essentially what it means: through the mail autograph requesting. So I guess the first thing to look at is kind of where you can get your autograph addresses from. Now, there's a couple of places you can use. I tend to use fanmail.biz. It's a fantastic database of celebrity addresses. Pretty much any celebrity you can think of, if you type their name in, and I'm not talking about just actors and actresses, I'm just talking about sports stars and sort of other notable people as well. You type their details in, and you can basically find a current contact address for them if one exists. Now, normally that's the agent's address, so you would normally write directly to the agent. It's very, very rare you'll get a celebrity's personal address. And actually, if I'm honest, I'm not one for writing to personal addresses. I think it's a bit of an invasion of privacy, and I wouldn't personally recommend it, but if that's what you want to do, that's entirely up to you. But as I say, fanmail.biz is brilliant. You type an address in. Every time someone gets a success on fanmail, they will post that success, and then it keeps the database updated. So if they get a return to sender or whatever sort of negative response, a failure, then that will be updated too. So you'll know perhaps if addresses have started to not work any longer, you'll have an update on that. The other place you can use is Star Tiger, which I've put a tiny little link to at the bottom. A small link there, mainly because I've never used it before. People tend to swing between fan mail and Star Tiger. I've not used it myself, but I've heard it's very useful. But I've tended to be able to find pretty much every address I'm after via fanmail.biz anyway. The other thing you can do if you want to get hold of addresses is you could always join Facebook autograph collecting sites. So if there's a specific celebrity or a specific TV show that you're after, maybe, perhaps by joining the Facebook page, you'll have other fellow collectors on there who can kind of give you suggestions of the best places to go to. And it might not just be collecting autographs through the mail. It could be sort of such and such a celebrity is starring in a particular play in London, and they come out of the matinee at X o'clock, and that's where you can stand with an autograph, with a picture, and get an autograph if you want one. So yeah, fanmail.biz, Star Tiger, and Facebook pages are my tips on those. There are other places, of course. There's loads of other places you could look, but I'm not going to cover them all. Just giving you a few examples here. So hopefully that's useful to you. So what do you want to do? You found the address of the person you want to write to, but now what? Now what do I do? Well, I guess the first thing I would say you want to do is you want to write them a letter. Now, I've seen lots of examples of celebrity through the mail letters. Some good, some bad, some downright ugly, if I'm honest. My preferred letter layout of choice is Dear so and so, whoever the person is. I normally then start off the letter by saying how much I'm a fan of their work and a particular, perhaps, list of films or TV shows or whatever it might be, accomplishments that you particularly enjoyed or you're particularly interested about. So, for example, if you're writing to, I don't know, let's say Robert Downey Jr. for the sake of arguments, you might say, I absolutely love the Avengers movie. I've been a fan of Marvel for years. I thought Iron Man 3 was the best of all of the films. Nobody did, surely. But you wouldn't say that. And basically, kind of, for want of a better description, flatter them a little bit. Let them know how much of a fan you are of their work and how much you enjoy the stuff that they do. I normally then move on to say something like, I hope it's not too much of an imposition, but I'd really, really love it if it's possible to get a signed picture from yourself. I'm a big fan, and this would be a fantastic thing for me. And then kind of round off your letter by saying, wish you all the very, very best for the future, or if you're going to see them in a play, for example, mention that you're going to go and see them in a play, and sort of let them know how much you really are a fan of their work. And that's pretty much it, and then round off with your sort of kind regards or whatever at the end. I think it's really important to write a letter that is genuine and honest, but not to make it too long. If you're writing letters that are beyond a side of A4, to be honest, beyond about three-quarters of a side of A4, you're probably writing too much. These are very, very busy people. They don't have a lot of time to read your letters. If you keep it short and snappy, the likelihood is it's more likely they're going to read the letter. If it's a long tome of a letter, then the likelihood is they're just going to skip it, maybe just give you a basic signature, no nice personalization or anything. So make sure you write enough to them, but not too much that it bores them and they stop reading. Um, the one thing I'd always suggest to steer away from, and I've seen lots of examples of this, and to be honest, I'm really not a fan of it at all. There's a few. Excuse me, I just touched the mic. Then there's a few people um, on fan mail, for example, who print off letters which are basically, "Dear blank, I'm a big fan of your work. Could I have an autograph?" And then they just handwrite the name of the person in. I think that's so rude. I would never ever do it. I think if you're going to write a letter to somebody, at least make it personal. At least make it show like you've put a bit of effort into the letter. But those are my tips on letter writing. And if you've got any other thoughts on it, please use the comment section below. Really, add your own comments and thoughts and pointers to help fellow collectors. The next thing is the postage. Now, this is always a big one, the postage. Most of the autographs I request are requested from my own country. I don't tend to do too much overseas requesting just because it's an absolute headache to get the postage and stuff right. But what I'd expect is that you'd put an envelope in with stamps on to the person you're writing to, and then you'd also put a self-addressed and stamped envelope to come back to yourself as well. If you're expecting the celebrities to pay for your postage, then you're not going to get many replies, if I'm being perfectly honest. So you always need to make sure you have enough postage on your letter to come back to you with the autographs, with the pictures that you've sent, hopefully signed by the celebrity. The reason I tend not to do so many overseas autograph collecting nowadays is just because it used to be quite easy a few years ago. You used to get an international reply coupon, which would basically cover the cost of sending back to an overseas country. So I could send to a celebrity with an international reply coupon, they'd exchange that for the correct postage, and then they'd post it back. Unfortunately, the Royal Mail in the UK has stopped doing international reply coupons. This is no longer an option. So getting hold of stamps for other countries is actually really difficult. Um, the few times I have done it, I've tended to either do one of a couple of things. I'll either put a bit of cash to cover the cost of postage in. Not really recommending this because cash in the mail is just a recipe for disaster. The other thing you could do is try and find like-minded collectors to swap stamps with or buy stamps from. So if you know a collector who lives in the US and you live in the UK, why not swap stamps with each other? Make it easy on yourselves. The other option is buying from somewhere like eBay. I have bought stamps for France and for the US before from eBay, and that's proved really, really useful and has helped me out massively in terms of some collecting that I've done. So envelopes that will fit your items. Make sure you write "please do not bend" on the envelope because your postie will think nothing of folding it in half and sticking it through your letterbox. If you're really, really sending stuff that's really important and you want to make super sure that it doesn't get damaged, put it in a hard-backed envelope as well. Obviously, that's going to cost you more postage because the bigger the envelope, the more it's going to cost you to come back. But make sure, probably most importantly, is put that return envelope in with your postage on. You're much, much more likely to get a response if you're including postage. And the next thing, probably the next key thing, is including a photograph or an image. This is really, this really depends as what sort of collector you are as to what sort of image or item you're going to put in to be signed. I normally tend to collect photographs, so I'll send off a photograph probably of somebody from the program, in character from the program that I'm writing to, and hope that they'll sign that. But people send off DVD covers, VHS covers, newspaper articles, magazine covers, whatever it might be, whatever you'd like signed, send it. The key thing here is do not send anything you can't afford to lose in the mail. Things go missing all the time. From the minute you send them to the minute they get sent back to that celebrity, they can go missing somewhere. If it's a superly important item that's got a lot of sentimental value or a lot of real monetary worth, then really think very, very carefully before you send it. Because if it does get lost, 9 times out of 10, it's very, very difficult to track these sort of items down. What I normally tend to do is I'll either find a sort of a magazine or something picture that I'd like signed, but the quality's never that good because it's on sort of magazine paper. So what I tend to do, and I'm not endorsing this at all, I'm just saying it's what I tend to do, is I tend to look for images online that I particularly like of a celebrity, and then I'll put them onto a USB stick and pop down to my local Asda. Other supermarkets are available, and I use their instant print photo machine. So you plug the USB in, select the images you want. They print off sort of 6x4s, so they're not particularly large, but that's fine because I tend to collect 6x4 images. They're easier to print off because 6x4 is pretty much the only size that you can run off instantly from supermarkets. But they're also cheaper to then post out and post back because it's smaller size envelopes. So it does make life a lot easier. Um, yeah. So those are some useful tips. You can obviously print off larger images, but it's more difficult because of copyright. And this is the big thing. This is why I'm saying, putting a bit of a caveat onto all of this is copyright. You shouldn't really just walk into somewhere and print off copyrighted material. It's very naughty. Tut tut. You shouldn't do it. But hey, we all have. Let's be perfectly honest, and it's what I tend to do. So that's how I do my photograph printing. There's loads of other places you can do it. There's kind of like your Snappy Snap photography centers that you might be able to print off larger images. I have on occasion done online image printing when I want a particular image done on A4, for example, and get it sent back to me in the post in a couple of days. But again, the cost is something to remember. An A4 image through the mail, sent off through the mail to come back to you, printed off online and sent back to you, could cost £4 or £5. An image in your local supermarket on a 6x4 is probably around about 39p. Bit of a difference, and you will find you're sending out a lot of autograph requests, and a lot of them won't come back. So think about the money you're losing each time you send one for the items that don't come back to you. And the key thing is just to remember to wait. There is no time limit on how long it'll take to get autographs back. The longest I've taken to get an autograph is around about 2 years. I sent off a request to the lovely Karen Gillan, who played Amy Pond in Doctor Who, and it took around about almost to the month, 2 years to get a response from her. Other autographs have sent off and had a response back within a matter of a week. It really does depend on the person, whether they're in the country very often, how often they check their mail. Do they sign in bulk once every couple of months, or every couple of years? It really does depend. So, there's if you're all about the quick response and you send off requests and then you're expecting a reply back within a matter of weeks, you're not going to last very long in this hobby. So be patient. Do be patient. It can take time to get requests back. And that's pretty much it. I think those are the key pointers. So just to recap very, very quickly, write a nice letter. Find the address of the person you want to write to, and make sure the address is still live. Make sure if it's at a person's agent, make sure they're still linked with that agency before you send off to them. Write them a letter. Include postage to cover back your return. Include an image that you want signed. You're more likely to get a response from somebody if you include a picture than if you just say, could you send your own picture back to me? So it's just worth remembering that again. And remember to be patient. It can take time to get responses back. So a little couple of things then, just to tie up a little bit of self-promotion. Don't forget, I have a website where I list all of my responses that I've had back. It's called celebritysignings.co.uk is the web address. You can see it on the screen there in front of you. I'll also put a little link or some details to it at the end of this video as well. And it's thinking about it, technically it's another way to look at what addresses are working, what responses still work, because if I'm posting stuff that's come back to me, the likelihood is that those addresses are still working. So pop along, have a look at who I've got responses from. I've got hundreds and hundreds of responses, and they're all listed here on my Celebrity Signings website. The other thing you can do is please check out my videos on this YouTube page as well. I've listed probably around about 20 or so videos now, and each one can have comments added to it, including this one, and can get some upvotes or downvotes. If you don't like what I'm doing, please let me know. It's all constructive criticism. But please have a look at the videos and sort of keep up to date on a month-by-month basis in terms of the responses I've had. That's it. Hope it's proved useful. Please comment below. If you like my videos, please subscribe. That would be fantastic. And hopefully see you next month for my next video, hopefully having some great updates that I can show you. Cheers, thank you, and goodbye.